I used to think censorship was a guy in a suit showing up with a stamp. Now it's a terms of service update, a silent algorithm tweak, and your whole reach evaporates like it never existed. That's private censorship. The platform switch. One moment you're building, the next moment you're gone, and the appeal process feels like yelling into a locked closet. And the sneakier version is shadow banning. No warning, no strike, just a quiet throttle. You're live, you're posting, you're doing the work, but your audience is suddenly behind frosted glass. I'm not talking theory here. I've had multiple Facebook groups shut down, one for business sales and one buy, sell, and trade marketplace, combined. About 230,000 members. Years of community, wiped out. I also lost a travel channel on YouTube I'd had for 15 years. That is not a minor inconvenience. That's digital eviction. Now, here's where it gets uglier. Big tech keeps saying relax, we're easing up, we're dropping the fact, checkers. But what I'm seeing, and what a lot of creators are feeling, is that the machine is now doing the censorship faster and colder.
And the big headline here, no more fact-checking, as we've noted for the last 8 years on Facebook and Instagram. Mark Zuckerberg himself is announcing these new changes for Meta, calling the recent elections a cultural tipping point, he says, towards prioritizing free speech. So this morning, he says that Meta will move away from the independent, nonpartisan fact-checking they've had in place since after the 2016 election. Instead, he says they'll rely on community notes. In other words, users putting out context. This is similar to what X is doing. Zuckerberg says Meta's complex moderation system makes too many mistakes with too much censorship. Watch.
The fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the U.S.
And that's not all. Meta also plans to get rid of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender, and to move their content moderation team from California to Texas, among other things. You referenced the timing. This is all happening less than 2 weeks.
Readers are feeling is that the machine is now doing the censorship faster and colder than the humans ever did. And the government angle is not speculation. Meta's Mark Zuckerberg has said the Biden White House repeatedly pressured Meta to censor COVID content, and he regrets caving. That's his words, not mine. So when people tell you it's a private company, so it's not censorship, I get the legal argument. But culturally and politically, it starts looking like a partnership. Government officials push, platforms comply. And the target is usually whatever speech makes the powerful look bad. And we've seen what happens when federal power gets aimed at political opponents. The Obama-era scandal is a clean example of how bureaucracy becomes a weapon. The Treasury Inspector General reported that the IRS used inappropriate criteria, including terms tied to Tea Party groups, to single out applications for extra review, leading to long delays and burdensome information requests. That was not some harmless clerical oops. That was pressure applied through paperwork. Now look at the church surveillance clip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Dillon, good to see you. You're doing a great job. Thanks for being here. I want to ask you about discrimination of a somewhat different kind. That's discrimination on the basis of religion. In the last administration, I'm sure you remember, the FBI issued a memorandum in which it attempted to recruit informants, spies, into Catholic parishes and probably, frankly, other Christian churches on the basis of these churches' theology. They designated and they created a list, an actual list. The United States government created a list of Catholic parishes and groups it did not like, branded them as traditionalist Catholics. I guess that's now a slur, and tried to recruit spies into these churches, which is unbelievable to me. I mean, you want to talk about a violation of one's civil rights.
I got hammered over a Richmond field office intelligence product that raised concerns about targeting radical traditionalist Catholics, including language about source development and tripwires. The DOJ Inspector General later said there was no evidence of malicious intent, but also criticized the memo's analytic failures and how it created the appearance of mixing religious identity with threat assumptions. Either way, the message to normal believers is obvious. You might be watched, categorized, and treated like a problem to manage. That's the chilling effect. People go quiet, not because they change their mind, but because they don't want to be next. Now zoom out. This is how you end up with an American-flavored social credit system. Not called that, of course. Ours will be trust and safety risk scoring, misinformation policy, financial compliance, community standards, same outcome, access gets denied, banking gets weird, platforms lock you out, payments freeze, your speech becomes a liability score. China's system is often misunderstood as one single magic number, but researchers describe a real ecosystem of blacklists and enforcement mechanisms that can restrict what people and businesses can do. The point is the direction, not the branding. Denied is denied. So here's my warning. When government pressure meets platform power and enforcement becomes automated, you don't get safer communities. You get managed speech. You get invisible punishments. You get a society where people self-censor just to keep their accounts, their income, and their reputation. What's next is simple. More denials, more quiet enforcement, more it was an error, and fewer humans you can actually talk to. So don't build your life on rented land. Own your audience. Mirror your content. Archive your work. Build distribution you control. Because if one phone call, one policy change, or one model update can erase you overnight, you're not a creator. You're a tenant. For the past year, I've been quietly building and releasing tools that help people fight back against censorship and regain control over their digital content. All of these tools are free, open source, and available for anyone to use or improve. Today, I'm talking about the 8 major open source projects I released in the last year under my GitHub account, Veracity Life. These are tools I donated to the community because I believe software should empower people, not lock them in. Verifact this is a WordPress fact, checking plugin that helps site owners flag misinformation and keep content trustworthy. If you run a news site or a blog, this tool gives you more control over what your audience sees. The Clovis Star Gnostic Library, an open digital archive for Gnostic texts. It's searchable, organized, and free to explore. It's a resource for scholars, curious minds, or anyone who wants uncensored access to knowledge. Spun Webmake. Com Workflow is a collection of automation blueprints that save you time on repetitive tasks, from publishing content to managing leads and social media flows. You can plug them into Makecom and tweak them however you want. Airwave Audio Player Matrix, a powerful open source audio player for WordPress. It supports multiple streams, playlist features, and deep customization without relying on closed proprietary tools. This one is built for creators, podcasters, and indie stations. Airwave Automator Free Chrome Extension, a Chrome extension that lets you automate and interact with audio streams directly in your browser, including interactive features like chat and song requests. ArchiveForge open source digital archiving software for preserving documents, media libraries, and web content. It's designed to help you keep your work safe without depending on closed platforms or services. SUT SEO Tools, a set of search engine optimization utilities that are simple, practical, and free. These tools help small creators optimize their content without paying for expensive subscriptions. Gnostic Theme for WordPress, a custom WordPress theme that gives niche content a clean, intentional look without forcing creators into generic corporate-style templates. All of these projects are public on GitHub. Feel free to star them, fork them, or contribute. I didn't build them to make money. I built them to give creators and communities real power. If you're tired of censorship, vendor lock-in, or paying just to access the basics, this is where real control begins.